we have an emergency. We have an emergency on our hands, and it has to do with Blippi the clown. I tried to avoid doing this. Honestly, I had a whole entire other video planned for today. I even made a thumbnail for it. I need to celebrate my 100,000 subscribers. Thank you very much. But we have an emergency. We have an emergency on our hands, and it has to do with Blippi the clown. Now, I do want to start this video off by saying that I have a full-fledged investigation, like pretty much a documentary, coming out about Blippi, and it's going to deal with his origin story, the fact that I found evidence that he may have always been an industry plant from at least as far back as 2009. Some of the past scandals of the actor, I'm sure y'all have heard about it, the whole Harlem Shake thing, which a lot of this stuff we'll kind of touch on today, but I already anticipate a lot of y'all are going to be putting stuff in the comments, like, oh, you forgot to mention this, you forgot to mention that, and maybe that's true, but no, like this video today is, like I said, it's an emergency. I really wanted to talk about one very niche specific aspect of this Blippi story. So let's get into it. So lately, a lot of depravity has really come to the forefront. It's really come to light, and it's been exposed with these recent documentaries and interviews coming out, specifically, namely the Quiet on Set documentary and its progeny. And that's led a lot of millennials to kind of look around like, why were our parents letting us watch this? I know a lot of y'all's parents were not letting you watch it. Some of the jokes that were being told on these shows have come back to the forefront, and the jokes we are now realizing were nothing more than glorified grooming corn, if you know what I mean, for children to desensitize us and make us believe that certain behaviors and certain dynamics were acceptable and okay. And a lot of people whose parents were just letting them do whatever they want are now asking, why? Why didn't those parents sit down and say, something's wrong with this, something's nasty about it? Now, at the time that those shows came out, I was in the audience myself. I was but a child in the audience myself. But today, I'm seeing these exact same patterns.
Hey, look at it. Look at it come out of the spout right here. Do you see? Blippi! Hey, I have an idea. Let's fill up one of these bees with warm chocolate. Ready? Whoa! 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 It just scored a bunch of chocolate right there. Now we need to take it right over here.
Literally patterns, color patterns even, girl. I'm seeing exactly the same stuff being perpetuated on children today. And I was happy to just mind my own business with it. But the fact that some of y'all have taken to my Instagram comments in order to defend some of the most disgusting and depraved and alarming stuff that I've ever seen, some of the most disgusting and depraved and alarming stuff that I do believe is truly harmful to kids, I have to make this emergency episode today. Now, if you don't know who Blippi is, consider yourself lucky, but he's basically a kid's internet juggernaut. The man is everywhere when it comes to children's entertainment.
Hey, it's me, Blippi. Ooh, and look at what I have.
He started a YouTube character named Blippi way back in 2014. And Blippi is the name of the main character on the channel. So the channel is named Blippi and the character's name is Blippi. Now, Blippi, the character, was originally portrayed by an actor and an SEO specialist named Stephen John Grossman. Now, he has changed his name to Stephen Johns, and he spelled Stephen different. And it's really, really reminiscent of Pee Wee Herman, because Pee Wee Herman also changed his name. It was Rubenfeld and he changed it to Rubens. And then he also, of course, went by Pee Wee Herman. So this Blippi character, played again by Stephen John Grossman, aka Stephen Johns, aka Blippi, this Blippi character, he's very childlike in his affect, and he kind of acts like a little bit of a Steve from Blue's Clues meets SpongeBob SquarePants meets Pee Wee Herman meets the Wiggles. It's very that. And I've seen a lot of articles and publications trying to describe this Blippi character as the modern day Mr. Rogers, which I would have to aggressively disagree, because Mr. Rogers did something extremely different than what this Blippi character is doing. Mr. Rogers was a grown man talking to a child audience as a grown man talking to children. He was explanatory, kind of like an uncle or a father figure, or, you know, a real adult. He would come home from work. He would take his shoes off at the door. He would take his coat off. He would explain things in a calm, soothing way. He was talking about very important issues. Mr. Rogers was the first person on television to put his feet in the water with a black person on screen or whatever. I mean, he was really revolutionary. And I do think he was a little bit of a government push, to be honest. I mean, he was on PBS, but what he was doing is absolutely nothing like what this Blippi character is doing. All you have to do is scroll about 5 seconds into the channel to realize and to recognize that it is completely different. Blippi is pretending to be a child.
And today, we get to go to Monster Jam! Yeah! Monster Jam is an event with monster trucks! Yeah!
And I have not seen one Blippi video where the man does not have a 5 o'clock shadow. Which brings me to another comparison that's often made to Blippi. Steve from Blue's Clues. Now, Steve from Blue's Clues, he did act a little weird and stuff like that, but I just remember being a kid and watching Blue's Clues. And even though Steve from Blue's Clues was kind of acting childish and childlike, and he was in this playhouse type of environment, in my childish mind, I knew for certain that that was a grown-up. Even though he was acting a little bit like a kid, even though he was acting a little bit, oh, blue skidoo, we can too. Da-da-da. He was acting like that, but in my mind, it was very clear he was an adult. Steve wasn't a kid. It wasn't like I ever interpreted that that man was a child. I knew that he was an adult, and it's my suspicion that kids who watch Blippi know that he's an adult. It's not like Blippi's tricking them and pretending to be a kid. No, he's a grown man with a 5 o'clock shadow acting like a kid. Okay. So before Blippi, the YouTube personality and channel was created, Stephen John Grossman, the creator of Blippi, he had already been viral across the internet. And this is something that we're going to really get into more in the full investigation, but a lot of y'all do know this, and it has to do with that viral moment having to do with the Harlem Shake. Y'all remember that? Now do the Harlem Shake. It was like a flash dance, viral dance challenge thing where it was like one person would start out on the screen. This is back in like 2013. One person would start out on the screen dancing to this song. And then this song, the beat drops, and then they're like, now do the Harlem Shake. And then a bunch of people are in the shot. It's like a jump cut. They're all dancing and, it was just a dance thing. Well, the creator of Blippi, who a lot of y'all have said this man has been replaced. No, he is not. He's literally still on the Blippi channel. There's just also another Blippi actor. There's two, which I think is actually very important, and I'll explain that in a minute. But I just want to kind of get everyone up to speed on Blippi himself so that, everybody's starting from the what you need to know basis. So back in 2013, before Blippi was created, but literally the same year Blippi was created, this Stephen Gross man made a video himself for this Harlem Shake situation. Now, he has made very aggressive attempts to remove this video from the internet, but the Wayback Machine, as we know, works very hard. He made, oh man, it's disgusting. He made a video for the Harlem Shake, and he obviously did it with the intention of going viral. Again, I'm going to get into all the details because I have found some very alarming stuff having to do with the marketing promotion of this thing. But just be aware, the guy who still literally, as of 4 days ago, was playing Blippi on the Blippi channel, still today, right now, this guy is playing Blippi. A lot of people are like, is new Blippi or old Blippi? The old Blippi is still on the show. The old Blippi is still going on Mika's channel, a spinoff channel. Okay. So old Blippi is still very, very much showing his face. It's not just, oh, he's still involved, he's still producing. No. The character Blippi is still being played by Stevens, Johns, Grossman, whatever he decided he wanted his name to be today. So that man is still playing Blippi. Okay, that's a very important point because a lot of people are saying, oh, well, they replaced that guy. So he does this viral Harlem Shake video. And in his version of the Harlem Shake video, he starts out on the toilet, like a bike helmet and some goggles or something. I would not encourage anybody to look this up. It is depraved and I'm upset that I had to see it. But he starts out on the toilet and then the beat drops of the do the Harlem Shake and then the jump cut happens. And what you would normally expect in this type of situation is for people to be dancing around in a room, a party, flashing lights, whatever. No, that's not what happens. That's not what happens. The creator of Blippi then stands up on the toilet and now there's another person in the bathroom with him, also naked, on the ground with his in the air, spread eagle. And when the beat drops, the guy who plays Blippi, still playing Blippi to this day. A lot of YouTubers have covered this and said this guy isn't on the channel anymore. He absolutely is. He's still right now on the channel. He's still making new videos for the channel. Okay. But in 2013, this man stands up on a toilet in the Harlem Shake video, turns around and relieves himself, defecates onto and into a naked man on the floor. Okay. Now, he has come out and said that that wasn't sexual in nature, but I will let you be the judge as to whether or not it is. And it is out there. It is still out there right now to this day. Obviously, I'm not going to show it to you. Obviously. I didn't watch it, actually. I didn't watch the full video. I did see the thumbnail of the video. I saw enough. I saw artist renditions, but I don't like watching that stuff. Okay. It's nasty. All right. So that man did that. Same year he created Blippi. All right. And then he created Blippi and he started to make videos. The first video that he made was about monster trucks, and he actually wasn't even in the video. And then he made a bunch of more monster trucks and garbage trucks and pizza videos and stuff like that. He also made going to a chocolate factory and squirting out the nice, warm, tight liquid.
Whoa, it's coming out. Whoa. It feels so mushy and it smells so tasty. This is a bowl that I sure want to lick. Okay, a little bit more. I think that's all of it. Now I'm gonna shape it into a really long mountain type of shape. Oh. Does that look good or does that look good?
I mean, he's disgusting. The man's fucked up. Okay, that's my opinion. That's my opinion. Personally, I wouldn't let my kids be watching Blippi. For me, this is my opinion. So before we go any further, let's just recollect our thoughts, right? There's two big points that I've already made. One, the man is obviously a grown man. He's not a child. He is grown. He has a 5 o'clock shadow in the videos. Okay, it's obvious he's a grown-up, but he's acting like this. Okay, so in my opinion, like just this part right here is just a personal opinion. I understand. I'm completely aware. Not everybody's going to agree, but my personal opinion is I don't think that this is a good model of behavior. Like,
Hey, what's up, Blippi?
Hey, it's professional Monster Jam driver Barry Moosauer. Whoa, it's
What's
so good
up?
to see you.
like I don't. I'll put it to you this way. This is what I told Prim. There's one video of him. If I can find it, I'll put it in. If I can't, I'll just describe it here. But it's like there's one video of the first Blippi, the OG Blippi, in a ball pit, and he's got all these balls around him, and he's like, Blippi, 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 Blippi.
You know me, I love my slides and ball pits. Yeah, yeah.
I know how to do that.
Do you know what color this is?
Yeah, it's orange, and I got the same one as you were.
Yeah, 2 orange balls.
Yeah.
And I turned to Prim and I said, Prim, I'm not letting my kid watch this show. For if it only is the reason of the following. What if our prospective future kid is one day playing in a ball pit and some freak dressed like Blippi pops up out the ball pit and he starts using, hey kids, do you want to go play? Do you know how easy it is to get an orange and a blue beanie and an orange shirt with a bow tie? It's very easy. It's not like it's like any freak could just adopt this affect. We've seen 2 different Blippis do it. There's all these dads that have done the dressing up like Blippi to see if my kid would notice challenge. The primary overarching point that I want y'all to remember this whole entire time is Blippi himself is a grown man, and he is played by an actual grown man who is an actor, and then now 2 grown men who are actors. Okay, so I want to address some possible pushback that I know y'all are going to give. Okay, first of all, one person already done said it in the comments on the Instagram. I blocked him because it's disgusting that he would even think this way. I can't have people in my dimension acting like that. But some of y'all are going to say something like along the lines of, well, you know what? If you're the one who's noticing this stuff, it's you who's perverted. Wrong, false. 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 Just because you want to experience cognitive dissonance and deny that there are actually predators and disgusting freaks out here in the world who actually do wish and want to do harm to children, including yours, that's a you problem, girl. I told y'all my gaslight era is over. All right. And like I said, it all really comes down to the context of the historical moment we're in. We are all asking where the adults were and why they weren't bringing up the fact that the shit was weird when it came to the flits and the splats and all of that on Nickelodeon. And I'm not doing it. I'm not going to have in 25 years this new gen alpha growing up and being like, these perverted adults, they were sick. They saw this stuff and they let us wear it. They let us watch it. They let us do it. They let us go to the live action play. This video is going to be full of disclaimers, but I do want to be very extremely clear about what I am not saying. I am not saying you shouldn't let your child watch Blippi. I am not saying what your kid can wear, shouldn't wear. That's not what I'm saying. The good Lord gave you them children, girl. You are the only one who gets to decide what to do with them. But I just want to offer some points to think about that maybe you didn't think about. There have already been some people in the Instagram comments coming at this in very bad faith. And I really do think it's because they have a guilty conscience of like, I didn't even think about that. Like, let me protect my cognitive dissonance mind instead of like actually giving this some critical thought and protecting my child. And that's your karma to deal with, girl. But for those of you who do have an open mind and who are interested in seeing why it is I think that some of this stuff is problematic, please do stick around. So recap, Blippi is a child's character played by an actor named Stephen Johns, aka Stephen John Grossman, and now is also played by another actor. It's a grown man with a 5 o'clock shadow wearing clothes that anybody can buy at the JCPenney and jump out of the ball pit and play with your kid, okay? And for the full scale investigation I'm doing, I have done a lot of research. I mean, I've been in the financial documents, I've been in the SEC, I've been in the Edgar, I've been in the copyright and the trade search. I have been everywhere trying to figure out what exactly is going on with this Blippi thing because I am interested in the brand of Blippi as well as the character who plays him. So in my research into this character, it led me into the copyright applications for Blippi and for the parent company of Blippi, which is called Moonbug, and for its parent, which is called Candle Media, which is run by Disney executives, one of whom is on the short list to replace the CEO of Disney next. Oh, and he also was the CEO of TikTok and TikTok's parent company, ByteDance, and then he stopped being anyway, that's all for the major investigation. So I was looking into the trademarks. I was looking into who owns the different intellectual property having to do with Blippi, the brand. Well, I was in the trademarks and I saw that Moonbug Entertainment, the parent company to Blippi, had applied for a trademark. And the trademark office actually provisionally denied the trademark application. So I was kind of going through like, oh, why did they deny it? And then they eventually did accept it and all of that. Well, whenever they first applied for the trademark, they had applied for the general stuff that you would expect, you know, cups, plates, clothing, stuff like that. Now, the trademark office, like I said, provisionally denied this application. And they said that the reason they had to deny it, among other reasons, was that the actual item that you want to trademark, that you want to protect your copyright intellectual property for, you have to describe it pretty specifically. You can't just say everything that says Blippi on it. No, you have to like specifically describe it. So Moonbug applies for trademarks on clothing. The Trademark and Copyright Office sent them back a rejection and said, you have to fix your application. You have to be more specific about what clothing items you want to trademark. And then Moonbug sends another application in, basically just amends it, fixes it in the way that the trademark office told them to. And it was just a little detail. But to me, it was like the princess and the pea. You know, they put one pea under her 55 mattresses, but still somehow she knows that it's a pea. That was this for me. And what Moonbug, the parent company to Blippi that wanted to copyright and protect the intellectual property to Blippi, they had submitted a list of clothing that was going to be more specific. And specifically, they included the term underwear. And I hadn't even looked up, does Blippi underwear exist? I am aware that there's little boy underwear that's got stuff on it, you know, tractors and trucks and this thing and Superman and things and this and that. And that's fine, whatever. But it got me to thinking again about quiet on set and how even still today, Dan Schneider and the rest of them, Nickelodeon, they're all still kind of relying on this plausible deniability thing. They're all kind of saying, if you take something bad from that, if you take something gross from that, you're the gross pervert because we weren't doing anything like that on purpose. Well, now there's a lot of accounts coming out to combat that, which I don't know, I wasn't there. But, you know, the like Nose Boy or Big Captain Big Nose or whatever, you know, they put him in that leotard. And Leon Frierson has come out now and said that was one of the most humiliating and degrading parts of being on these shows. Can we play music videos on it? It depends. It's like just based on what they want to do. Yeah. I don't remember exactly where I was. Prem came in here and we had a whole side conversation, but I think I was talking about underwear. But I do want to just explain what my actual thought process is here. So just hear me out and then maybe you'll understand where I'm coming from. First and foremost, there's some common arguments that come across that I just want to address because if I see them in the comments, I'm just going to hide you from the channel because it's clear you didn't actually watch this video before spewing your bullshit. And this is one of the hardest parts about coming up into an age of higher enlightenment, mentally, cognitively, socially, and all of that, is we do have to face the difficult and uncomfortable reality and uncomfortable truth that we've believed stuff that's wrong. We have to face the idea that we have to shatter the existing paradigm. We have to shatter the existing hegemony. We have to shatter the hellhole, the open air prison circus run by demon clowns, or else we're just going to keep living here. And your kids are going to do it to their kids, are going to do it to their kids. We have to face the hard truths. Okay? It sucks. It hurts to realize you've been doing something that's maybe not good. But what hurts more is when you don't realize it. Okay? So what I'm not saying is anybody specifically in charge of making this stuff is doing it on purpose. Okay. Actually, Liz Crokin told me something a long time ago, years ago, whenever we first came to be acquainted. At the time, I would have said I was an atheist. And I'm sure I did tell her that. Like, I don't believe in God. That's not where I am right now, as y'all know. But at the time, she was telling me some stuff that seemed, in my opinion, to be a little far-fetched. A lot of that stuff has now come to be actually true, and it wasn't far-fetched. I mean, I kept an open mind, and I told her that when I talked to her, I was very open with her. I was like, listen, Liz, I think you mean well, but some of the stuff you say is just a little bit too far beyond the pale or whatever, you know. And she told me something so insightful, I've never been able to forget it. And she was right. She said, listen, BJ, I understand you don't believe in God and Satan and spiritual warfare and rituals and things. That's fine. She said, that's fine. You don't have to. She said, but you should know. It was so insightful. I'm so glad she told me this because it really has framed how I think about things moving forward. She said, you should know. You don't have to believe in it. And it doesn't even have to be true. She said, I'm not going to try to convince you it's true. She said, I don't have to try to convince you it's true. You're going to find out it's true on your own. Time will tell. But she said, even if you never believe it's true, there's people out there that do, and they act accordingly. Even if it is too far-fetched for you to believe, she said, people believe that. And they are acting accordingly. So I kind of apply that to everything now, where it's like, all right, do I personally think that a whole team of disgusting weirdos sat around and said, how do we put some gross, suggestive stuff on children's underwear and get away with it? No, I don't think that's probably what happened. But I have found evidence that predators, specifically the type that target children, will do such a thing. I just want to be very clear. I'm not even saying necessarily that the original Blippi is necessarily a creep. I'm not saying he's not. I have my suspicions. But instead of taking my word for it, instead of listening to my little feelings and thoughts, I thought that I would show y'all some actual scientific data. Some data. And then you can do with this information what you will. Now, am I saying you a bad parent because you let your child wear the Blippi drawers? No. If you truly are a good parent, in my opinion, you would at the very least consider some of the things that maybe you haven't thought about in order to make your child more protected and a better life. Okay, so the first thing I want to show y'all is a 2023 NIH study entitled The Characteristics of Virtual Child Bleep Abuse Material, Offenders, and the Harms of Offending, a qualitative content analysis of print media. Okay, so this qualitative content analysis is about a certain type of material, CSAM, and it kind of exists on a continuum. But in particular, I wanted to focus on one aspect of this study that has to do with using familiar cartoon characters in order to groom young minors. Here is one such instance here that is cited in this NIH study, and they do cite other studies which were done in 2013 and 2021. They're talking about this certain type of desensitization material. So not something that you would see and directly explicitly know immediately as some type of abuse material, but rather something that's kind of a midway, a gray area, as it were. The gray area that some of y'all were taking the opportunity to defend this disgusting and deplorable type of activity and type of material in my Instagram comments. Yeah, that. So look what it says. The material can be used in the grooming of the children, reducing the inhibitions of children and normalizing and desensitizing sexual demands, particularly if the material was to depict the victim's favorite cartoon character engaged in a certain activity. Okay, so there's these freaks out here and they make basically like AI, or they make their own, manual, like they make it type of material that is not really meant for kids, and they put it out, in the world to groom and desensitize children. This comes from a study. Okay, this is from a study. I didn't write this study. This is citing studies that were done over 10 years ago. This is NIH. If y'all don't want to believe this study, take it up with the study. But this is not my opinion. This is me reading from a study. I got it from exactly from here. Look, again, I'll show y'all. By Larissa Christensen and Noah Vickery, Australia. This is the study. I'm not saying this. I'm citing a study. Okay. The material can be used to groom the children, normalizing, desensitizing.
Hey everybody, this is Chris, director and lead teacher of Protect Your Children Inc., the Child Predator Playbook. 1. Desensitize the kid. Anything that they were taught that was wrong, or that was immoral, or that they should avoid, convince them that it's okay to do. Desensitize them. Let them see examples of how it's actually okay to do what they thought was wrong. So you have to desensitize them. Make it so that what they see and what they hear, it's no big deal. It's no big deal.
Where you do kind of end up with this gray area. And I kind of I might put it up on the screen. I don't know, maybe. I kind of started making this continuum where it's like some people were saying stuff that seemed like actually logically legitimate, but then the conclusion still has to be no. Like, for example, some people were saying, well, my kid has Bob the Builder, on his underwear, and it's innocent and it doesn't mean anything bad. And you're sick for thinking that should we throw away our Bob the Builder underwear? And it's like my first knee-jerk reaction to that question would be no, you shouldn't. But then when I really think about it, actually, like, why do we have Bob the Builder on kids' underwear? I mean, really, seriously. Like, why do we have pictures of anything on kids' underwear? Why? Like, I don't understand why. But if we do really want to get down into the nuance, like I personally actually am leaning more toward, I don't think we should have construction worker on a kid's underwear. Actually, good point. But even if I were to try and do like debate club nuance between Blippi on a pair of underwears and Bob the Builder on a pair of underwears, I think it's very different because Bob the Builder is not a grown man who is on the internet somewhere shitting into another man's anus. Okay. That's first of all. Second of all, Bob the Builder is a cartoon character. Bob the Builder is not real. Bob the Builder, you cannot go meet Bob the Builder. He would have to put on a big costume or something. Like, it's not. Go back to that Steve Blue's Clues scenario I said earlier. When I was a kid, I did not think Bob the Builder was a real grown man out there that I could meet. I knew he was a cartoon character. I knew Steve was a grown man. So I would just imagine kids these days can tell a difference between Bob the Builder and Blippi. Okay. It's actually almost like kids can tell more of a difference than y'all can because the programming has worked on you. Actually, Stephen John, aka Stephen John Grossman, he actually admitted that he specifically chose the colors of the Blippi outfit to manipulate the emotions of women and mothers. Let me show y'all that article. This is a Mashable article from 2018, and it's just like about Blippi, and he did an interview. So here, Blippi, or Stephen Grossman, or whatever his name was at the time, he's talking about creating the character of Blippi. And he weighed the pros and cons of live action versus animation. He started with the name. Okay. Next up was the presentation of the character. Quote, this is a quote from the guy who created Blippi, y'all. Blue is trustworthy. And because I'm a male, and I was in my 20s at the time, females are more trustworthy in kids' shows. I felt it was really important. Okay, hello? He knew that he wasn't going to be as trusted as if he were a female, and so he chose a trustworthy color. Orange is fun and creative. Green was another good one, but I understood that in the future I was probably going to shoot green screen with a large company, and I didn't want to be the burden to have them paint it blue, so I ruled it out. Okay, look, blue is trustworthy. I was in my 20s and I knew people were not going to trust me. So I needed to compensate with using the color blue. Orange is fun and creative. Okay. Remember I told y'all the other day, I ain't gatekeeping. I went to Wharton and they told me what color to make the inside of the restaurant, make people eat more and stuff. Like, this is how marketing works. All right. They use colors in order to evoke certain emotions in you. And it is up to you to do the research that is widely available and listen to people who have learned this stuff from these schools. I went through trauma and turmoil to get that information. And here I am out of the goodness of my heart trying to give it to y'all for free instead of even just considering like what I'm saying might be something worth listening to. You don't have to listen to me. Just considering, not even considering it. You're just, I'm the one that's got problems because I'm noticing these alarming characteristics and patterns. So let's get back to that article that I was showing y'all because we're not done with it. Okay, so this is where we were here. The material can be used in the of the children. How? To reduce their inhibitions, to normalize and desensitize them to certain types of sexual demands, especially if their favorite cartoon character is being used to desensitize them. Okay. The next time that grooming is mentioned, one prosecutor in a different case indicated that sexual offending might be spurred on by the normalization of the cartoon material. Remember, I told y'all they like take these cartoons and they put them in like gross situations. And we have these actual offenders being interviewed here. And what does this actual offender type say? He says the following. He had some of this cartoon material with the cartoon characters, and it said he was concerned about the effect, the mental effect that material and viewing that material had on him. He could see himself engaging and worse offending as a result, like a slippery slope. He was grooming his own self psychologically with the use of these materials. This type of material can serve as a gateway to contact, offending, acting as a progressive addiction. So this type of material where these cartoon characters, the common characters are engaged in these certain type of acts are grooming not only the children, but also the adults who are looking at it. Now, we already discussed that any Tom, Dick, and Harry off the side of the street can dress up like a Blippi. You could. It's not hard. You could find that hat, you could find some little glasses, and you could put on some suspenders and a bow tie and act stupid and do this. And there you go, you Blippi. Well, look at this. Someone has already, in recent years, in the past 6-7 years, dressed up as SpongeBob and other cartoon characters. And then he used his dressing up like that as a grooming tool. It's literally already happened. This ain't a study. This is not a study. This is just an article, a telling of event. I'm just reading an article. Okay. He dressed up as SpongeBob, Mickey Mouse, and Elmo, and he's accused of abusing at least 5 boys. He targeted single or divorced women with young boys and volunteered to babysit. Very serious predator. Now, this is a manual. Keeping kids safe. This comes from Michigan State University Extension School. Again, this is not my opinion. These are not my words. I'm reading you a how-to manual from a reputable source. I mean, it's a university. And this up here, they really do say why it is that y'all have such a knee-jerk reaction defending this type of content. And it's because you don't want to think about it. And I understand not wanting to think about it because it is gross. Unfortunately, they got people out here thinking about it all day and all night. And you are the only one who stands in between protecting your kid or not. Okay. But most people do have a hard time thinking about and talking about this type of abuse. But if we're going to prevent it, we must all think, talk, and take action about it. This series was created to help parents and primary caregivers learn concrete ways to keep children and teens safe from this type of abuse. It introduces key concepts and age-appropriate ideas and activities for protecting the children you love and helping them learn and build skills and knowledge that will reduce their risk of being victimized. Let's read this. What is grooming?
Grooming is the procedures that an offender would go through to make the intended victim more compliant, to get the individual, the child, to go along with it, or at least not protest, not run away, not fight, not resist. And so grooming is all those procedures to make the child pliable, so to speak.
I would just be friendly, play. I had them come over to have some brownies, colors, and crayons and do some artwork. First, it starts out that way.
And the grooming can be all sorts of things.
It starts very slow. People have an idea that if someone's sexually abused, they're grabbed off the street and stolen away and physically violent. For most people like me, it's a very gradual process. The parents are patient. They take their time. They develop a relationship, earn the trust of the child. They earn the trust of the family.
A perpetrator, when they start to groom a child, they want to see how far that they can take it, and then they will slowly progress into doing different things and seeing how far they can go and seeing if the child will disclose or tell.
Grooming is what experts call the intentional actions and behaviors that predators use to try to gain access to children they want to abuse. People often think that predators pick their child victims at random, or that we need to focus on stranger danger. But most of these types of abusers know and have some sort of relationship with the victims. Predators often try to groom children, adults, and even whole communities. This is what they've done to you. Wake up. This is what they did to me. I had to wake up. They did this to us our whole lives with the Nickelodeon and the Splats and the Dares and the On Air and the this and the that and all of that. No. It was wrong then and it's wrong today. We got groomed by the industry collectively as a community, and we have to wake up. Why do they do this? Why do they do this? 3 reasons. To gain access to the children, to hide their actions right there in plain sight, right there, right there. The best way to hide something is if nobody's even is right in their face and they're not even noticing it, don't you think? Then you don't have to hide. And they do it to decrease the risk that they will be found and stopped. This fact sheet is designed to help you learn and recognize some common tactics that these people use to groom and manipulate not only families, adults, but also the children and the communities. What is the 5-point strategy that these freaks like to use to gain the kids' trust and create situations and opportunities to abuse them? While grooming takes many forms, predators often follow a 5-step process to, number 1, identify the vulnerable children. Number 1 is identify the vulnerable children, all right? If you don't get past step 1, you can't do it. What is a vulnerable child? A vulnerable child is a child with a vulnerable family.
How did you get them alone?
Grooming. I would check out their family situation. When we were on the ballpark or on the gym floor, you know, I would give them special attention.
Were there certain characteristics that you looked for in children before?
In children, yes, but more I also looked at their families. If I thought the father was a threat, I would not approach the child.
But if there's a child who knows for sure what exactly is not acceptable, what exactly a boundary is, and who they need to go tell something to if something does happen, they're not a vulnerable child.
If I thought that the child had friends that he would tell, I would not approach him. If I thought the child had friends that were in the same capacity he was, I would approach him.
If they are equipped and aware of an age-appropriate level of don't let people, you know what, to your private this, that, and the other, okay? Can't get past step 1. They're not vulnerable. They know. But if they do identify a vulnerable child, then they move on to step 2, engaging in peer-like involvement. So they'll act like the child's peer. Desensitizing the child to touch is step 3. So what they'll do is they'll tickle. They like tickling. Tickle the feet, tickle inside the shirt, tickle that, like it'll be little bits. I know this is uncomfortable, y'all. It's not really fun for me to talk about. I didn't want to. I had another video planned, but it's very important. It really is. They'll tickle, they'll play, they'll roughhouse. That's step 3. Just to kind of desensitize the child to being touched. The 4th step after that, they will isolate the child emotionally and physically. And then after it all is said and done, they will, step 5, make the child feel like it is their fault or their responsibility. Though most predators start with the first step, it's important to know that from there, many take 2 or 3 more steps at a time, taking them out of order, or they skip a step completely. Some will do little or no grooming at all before they start to touch and abuse. It really just depends on how vulnerable and willing the child naturally is, and that's based on, you know, a bunch of stuff. And it's never, ever the child's fault. Ever. Just a kid. Obviously. But certain kids do have certain natural predispositions. Some are more ticklish. Some don't want to be touched at all. No matter, it's just nobody told them that, just don't like it. You know, there's different kids are all of us are different from the time we're born. How do these people, remember step 1, identify the vulnerable children? This pamphlet, this how-to guide from Michigan State University does go on to tell you exactly how these freaks identify who is and who counts as a vulnerable child. They seek out potential victims by looking for children they think are vulnerable, easy targets, or, listen, less likely to report abuse. Specifically, they look for children who are looking for attention, who need someone to listen to them, who lack confidence or have low self-esteem, struggle socially, have a hard time maintaining appropriate boundaries, have challenging family situations, and are kids that are likely to please adults. Children with disabilities, particularly those who struggle with verbal communication, may be at particular risk because it can be hard for them to communicate what is being done to them. Why is the predatory behavior hard to recognize? The first stage can be challenging for parents and other caregivers to recognize because it is hard to think of ourselves, our family, and our children as potentially vulnerable. And that's why your parents didn't say shit about Dan Schneider. That's why they watched y'all watching On Air Dare, watched dogs licking peanut butter off children, and just didn't say nothing. Because it's difficult to identify yourself as someone who's potentially vulnerable. Nobody wants to say, oh, look at this glaring, gaping hole affecting my child's development. The harsh reality, write this down in your book, y'all. The harsh reality is that we and the young people we care about are at risk. There are freaks and predators out here. Yes, there are. Yes, there are. And they would like to do harm to children, and in particular yours as well. Now, here's the step 2. What does it mean to engage in peer-like involvement? They try to gain children's trust by talking, playing, interacting with them as if they were peers or friends. Let's go to the monster truck rally. Have you ever seen a monster truck? That's not what Mr. Rogers did. And I'm not going to let y'all disparage that man. He might have had some issues. He might have had some problems. He might have been a plant. But he did not do that. It was very clear to me that Mr. Rogers was a grown-up doing grown-up things. It was very clear to me that Steve from Blue's Clues was a grown-up doing kid things. And I'm certain that kids today have no problem recognizing the man with the 5 o'clock shadow is a grown man. But he's acting like a kid. Engaging with and connecting to children through their interests is not a bad thing by itself. And I want to reiterate this. I'm not saying Blippi himself is a predator. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying the actor who plays Blippi is a predator. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is predators are out here and they like to use things that they have in common with kids to groom them in order to hurt them, to abuse them. And so it will be very easy and cheap for a predator to dress up like Blippi and jump out the balls in the ball pit. And now your kid's already completely desensitized to a grown man acting like that, dressing like that, talking like that, and being in a place where children are. You know, they don't even let adults go into the Chuck E. Cheese. Okay. Why is that? Because adults ain't supposed to be in the ball pits with the kids. I'm not saying Blippi is doing this on purpose. I think maybe they might be. I'm not saying they are, though. What I'm saying is they got predators out here who will absolutely use and exploit the fact that this is a grown man in a ball pit talking like a kid, and the fact that millions of kids are now exposed to and comfortable with it, right? So how far of a stretch away from that is, let me see your Blippi underwear. Do you have any Blippi underwear, kids? Let me see. Would your kid know the difference? That's something only you can answer. If a Blippi jumps out the ball pit at the McDonald's play place, hey kids, let me see your Blippi underwear. Would your kid know not to show it? Let me tickle the Blippi on your underwear. Would your kid know that wasn't okay? Because I would. And honestly, I meant to say this at the very beginning. Now this video is long. I don't know how many people are even going to watch it. We're going to do the full investigation. No, this will be a part of it. This is a side story. I just want to do a side story. Y'all know I didn't have the perfect childhood and all that. But there were some things I absolutely think my dad specifically did right. And my mom did too. There was things they did right. One of the things they did right, very right, was they made for damn sure that I was not a vulnerable child like this. I knew from very early. I don't remember ever even learning. I don't remember the moment that I was sat down and taught this because it was so ingrained in me. Nobody needs to be looking at your drawers, looking at your belly. When I was a kid, I would get so mad at my parents because they would not let me wear a 2-piece bathing suit. I could only wear a 1-piece bathing suit, and it pissed me off. I want to wear 2-piece like my friends. I want to wear a bikini. Now looking back on it, oh my God. Yeah, duh. My dad, y'all, he's dead and gone. Rest in peace. But I literally can still hear his voice in my mind saying, like, put some clothes on. When we would go around the pool and stuff at the summertime, like, we didn't have a whole bunch of money. We were like welfare poor at the time when I was growing up and stuff. I'm from Louisiana. We'd be doing water stuff all the time. Like, there was lakes, rivers, bayous, we're always in the water. And so each summer we would have this kind of like a, yearly thing where we'd go and get a bathing suit. Couldn't get a bikini. Once I was like 11, 12 years old, I think they let me start wearing tankinis, but it had to be like a tank top shirt. You know what I mean? And even though we didn't have a lot of money and stuff like that, like, it was very important that we dress modestly as children. And like my dad did it right. He did. And I'm going to definitely follow his lead in this if I have daughters, because I know that how girls are preyed upon, but even if I have sons, because I know that there's sick fucks out here. And my dad knew that too. He didn't tell me that per se, but it was obvious that's what was going on. He knew there were sick fucks out here. He wasn't letting his kids be vulnerable.
If I thought the father was a threat, I would not approach the child.
And like I said, we didn't have a lot of money. But when we would go and pick out our bathing suits and our whatever at the store, we would not be leaving out of that store until we also picked out a, quote, cover up. So if I was in the water swimming, I didn't have to wear the cover up. I could wear just the bathing suit. Again, couldn't be a bikini. And this is like anywhere. This wasn't just around family too, but it was around family. It was around everybody. It wasn't like, oh, well, no. It was very clear to me. There was no gray area. There was no blurred line. Who should be helping me to go to the restroom? Who should be helping me to change my clothes? The blinds were not gray area. There was no blurred line. I could promise you one thing. If anybody, character or not, would have jumped out of a damn ball pit and asked me to see my drawers, I would have said, hell no, what? And then I would have went and told my daddy or my mom. And he probably would have beat him up.
If I thought the father was a threat, I would not approach the child.
That being said, I can say with certainty, like I literally hear my dad's voice in my mind saying like, no, we're not putting that on our TV. And maybe that's it. Maybe my parents just brainwashed me. Maybe that's why I think what I think today. But I can say with certainty that this wouldn't have been a gray area for me. Wouldn't have made me, but no, wouldn't have been vulnerable to me. But again, engaging with and connecting to children through their interests is not a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing. Again, I think Mr. Rogers is a pretty good gold standard. There was puppets, there was a little make-believe land and all that, but he was like, obviously coming home from work. The people that came to his house were like the mailman. You know, it was like showing us kind of a little bit how to be an adult. This Blippi is showing the kids how to act like an insane, deranged lunatic.
So tasty! Come on! Yum! Oh, I don't even know what that is. But
it's different. Then people are saying he's educational, but then there's like, he don't even spell words right sometimes. He's teaching them how to spell stuff wrong. So, I mean, is it really educational? Educational of what? But there are predators who will use this. Am I saying Blippi is a predator? No. Am I saying any of the actors who play Blippi are predators? No. Am I saying anybody in charge of Blippi the show is a predator? No. Am I saying people who are in charge of these underwear are predators? No. I'm not saying anybody is. What I'm saying is they do got predators out here, and this is how they act. They struggle to maintain appropriate boundaries with children. They may offer children substances or share inappropriate personal info with the kids, including information about sex. They may develop hobbies or interests that are appealing to children. They may intentionally find their interests popular with children as a way to connect with them. Hello? Still there? You still there? Predators, quote, may intentionally find interests popular with children as a way to connect with them. They may have toys, games, or other things that interest children to entice kids to hang out with them. They might be more interested in children than in adults. There's nothing wrong with adults enjoying playing with children and wishing to be around them. The troubling difference is that the predators may not show any interest in engaging with the adults. Okay, so now if you can get past those first two, then step 3 is desensitizing the child to touch. And they go into how. This is a how-to guide. This is not my opinion. This is from a how-to guide, how to protect children. And they are saying that this is one of the steps that's often employed by these freaks. The next step in the process of child is desensitizing the child to touch. And this is citing more studies. Adevalo in 2014 and Van Dam in 2001. Predators begin to touch the targeted child to test whether they will tell a parent or another adult about it. If the child does not report the touching, will often slowly increase the frequency or intensity of the touches until they actually begin abusing the child. In trying to desensitize the child to touch, the predators may use the following tactics. And they give us 3 examples. Number 1, make frequent touching seem normal, starting with small, seemingly innocent touches like tickling or roughhousing. They may also frequently pick up or find other ways to touch the targeted child. Now, again, I am not accusing anybody of this in particular. I am not saying Blippi the actor or Blippi the character is doing this. What I am saying is Blippi does exhibit a lot of these behaviors whenever he is interacting with children. Again, he could be totally sweet, nice, honest, sweetheart guy and all of that. That's absolutely not a predator. And I'm not even implying or suggesting that he is at all. I'm really, truly not. What I am saying is this is what predators do. And so if kids see Blippi doing it, the next predator that comes around trying to tickle them and pick them up, they might not know that that's something they even should report to an adult, to you. Another example of a tactic that these predators will use, they start with small touches to test whether the targeted child will report the activity. If the child does report these small touches to a parent or another adult, they're easily explained away. Oh, I was just helping him button his pants after he used the bathroom. If the child reports these little small touches, it's just small. I was just helping him with his pant, girl. I didn't do that. Now, if the child does not report these small touches, then they will gradually increase to more abuse type of touches. And another way that they will desensitize the child to physical touch is they'll find other ways, such as by asking questions like, do you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend? Have you kissed them yet? Are you, active? They may pose these questions under the guise of being an involved, concerned, and helpful adult in the child's life. I just want to make sure you're being safe. Why is this predatory behavior hard to recognize? Well, the process of desensitization often happens very slowly. The predator may begin the process with touching that the child wants and enjoys, like tickling or roughhousing. And that seems so innocent that a parent or other adult seeing it would lower their guard. But eventually some predators even find ways to touch the targeted child inappropriately in front of the child's parent without even being noticed. And that definitely does happen. I've talked to people who have experienced that. Then the next steps are to isolate the child and to then make the child feel responsible for the abuse. And then they give you just a little word of advice at the end, which I think is actually very good. Most parents' goals include keeping their kids safe and equipping them to lead the best lives possible. This can seem like a daunting task, but the best thing you can do for your child is to pay attention, to be actively involved, and to make informed decisions about things that could affect their safety. Even if these efforts seem scary or overwhelming, being prepared and vigilant are the key steps in protecting your child and helping them build the skills that will help them stay safe as they get over. This doesn't mean you have to prevent your child from going anywhere and doing anything. It's just a reminder to use common sense. Pay close attention to the people and events around your child. Set appropriate boundaries and stay tuned in. There are a lot of things you can do to protect your child that shouldn't prevent you and your child from living fully and enjoying the world around you. Okay. So this brings me to, the main point, the final point. I mean, I've made it a few different times, but just to recap, they have a man on the kid's underwear. Okay. There's people that sat around a boardroom table and decided they wanted to protect the intellectual property to put a grown man with a full beard. I mean, I keep saying 5 o'clock shadow. Look at these drawers. I mean, it's a man with a full beard. And wait, what does that mean? We shouldn't put Bob the Builder on the children's underwear? I mean, yeah, I guess. I mean, why do you want a construction worker on your child's underwear? Sometimes I feel like I'm living in like 1/2 dimension over. Like I can still see what y'all are doing over here in this dimension, but it's just so obvious to me. Like I see a cartoon of a grown man with a beard on kids' underwear, and I know that grown man with a beard is based on a character that shit into somebody else's open asshole just 10 years ago. To me, it's very obvious why I wouldn't want that on a child's drawers. Now, I mean, that whole thing with the whole Harlem Shake video, like I said, I am going to get into that in my full investigation. I haven't forgotten it. I haven't overlooked it. It's just not the purpose of today's video. As you can see, it's already a very long video, but it's just obvious to me. It's obvious to me why you wouldn't want the man who went completely viral and got millions and millions of views shitting into another man's asshole and telling people to share it. And that's not all he did. He had a lot of disgusting and nasty content. He was like a gross out channel before he was Blippi. And he now says, that was a long time ago that I was doing that. Yeah, maybe now. But literally that Harlem Shake video came out the exact same year that Blippi started. The same year that he thought of Blippi is the same year the Harlem Shake video came out. It wasn't like it was that far apart. It wasn't. Maybe he's grown up now, but if you go look at the videos he made at the very beginning of Blippi, it's exactly the same character and exactly the same stuff he's doing today. So I don't know. I mean, that's a whole nother aspect of this. And I think that I think there's a continuum, I drew up a continuum or whatever, but like, I think, all the way on the one side of the continuum from 0, let's say 0 to 10 on 0, it's like, okay, everybody can agree. There's probably nothing wrong with just letting your kid wear drawers that are just one color, solid color, just make them white, whitey tidies for the children. We can probably all agree there's nothing untoward or inappropriate about that. Now, go all the way to the other end of the continuum. And let's say like, you probably don't want something graphic or obscene on your child's underwear, like corn or something. You're not going to probably put pornographic underwear on your toddler. Okay, right? That's 10. That's the other side of the continuum. And then maybe right next to that is like Jeffrey Dahmer or John Wayne Gacy. We probably don't want them on the children's underwear, right? As characters. Like, do we want to, some of y'all probably do. Weirdos, but it's predators and killers and stuff. You probably don't want to put them on the underwear. And then, back over at the other side of the continuum, maybe it's like flowers or a puppy or something, kind of like moving toward the middle. And I just think, Bob the Builder, in my opinion, or Christoph, which is one of the ones one of y'all had brought up. And again, like, I don't really even mind people bringing stuff up in a good faith way. What I mind is whenever people act like I'm the one being insane, whenever they're the ones that are normalizing putting men on their children's underwears. Okay. I'm not. I'm not the one insane. And I promise you, history is going to agree with me. If you just don't understand it, that's one thing. But if you're telling me that something is a reach whenever there's literally university literature and NIH studies which agree with me that predators absolutely exploit and utilize these characters and these characters being on children's intimate body parts in order to touch them, in order to abuse them, you are the one that has problems. If you are intentionally ignoring this evidence, which is out here for free, and you are the one who is the only gatekeeper in charge of making sure that your children are safe, you are the one that has problems. Okay? I'm out of my gaslit era. I already told y'all. There's nothing you could possibly say that will make me think it is okay. Now, that's a different thing than anybody and everybody who lets their kid wear these underwears is a pervert. That's not what I'm saying. I would actually say the predominant majority of people who do are not perverts. I think that they're not thinking of it in that way. I think they would never think of it in that way because they're not fucked up. But unfortunately, there's fucked up people in this world who absolutely will use that as a way to abuse and harm your child. Why are there conference rooms of people sitting around saying, you know what's a good idea? Let's put a grown man with a beard on a kid's underwear. And what are these white splats? Speaking of splats, why? Can anybody think of how on earth a design team sat around and came up with this design for a child's underwear? It's the splats, Amy. They moved past orange. The splats have moved past orange. They have moved past lime green. They are white splats on a child's underwear. Oh, you're the one that's gross for pointing that out. That is literally exactly what these predators say. That is exactly what they say. I would never think of that. Nickelodeon, you tainted the joke by calling it a taint. You're the one tainting. Now all the millennials are sitting here going, not even half of one adult had any damn sense around to notice these splats, these squirts, these tubes. What is Blippi sitting in right here? What's he doing at this chocolate factory? What's he doing covered in this sticky white substance? Why is there white splats on children's underwear? Listen, just do exercise. You're about to get paid $1 million to design some children's underwear. You putting white splats on them? At no point in the design process, at no point in the approvals, at no point in anybody that checked this off, nobody said, maybe we can make those splats purple, green. We know these people care about colors. Steven Grossman literally admitted that he chose blue because it is a trustworthy color. So look at this underwear with the white splats all over it. It's blue. And y'all are falling right for it. Not only is it's not just Bob the Builder. It's not just Kristoff the character. It is Stephen John, FKA Stephen John Grossman, aka Steezy Grossman, aka the guy who shit in somebody's asshole and told everybody to share it with their friends and family. That is what this man thought that it was appropriate to share with your family in 2013, the same year that he conceptualized Blippi. Okay. These are not things to say that the man is a predator. They are things to say that this is the prime real estate for grooming behaviors. And people acting like I am the problem for trying to warn y'all about the slippery slope into groomhood. Something's wrong with y'all. It's literally something's wrong with y'all. And you will see what I mean one day. Yes, you will. This is not to say don't let your kid watch Blippi, although I certainly wouldn't let mine watch Blippi. I think it's weird. I think the whole entire show just normalizes children acting strange. Monster trucks. Like, imagine a kid's going to a monster truck rally and that's how they act. Something's wrong with it. The whole show is a grooming project. I'm not saying it's on purpose. I'm saying based on these articles, based on these scientific articles, studies, these how-to guides from professionals and experts at universities, these people, these freaks, will absolutely exploit these areas of vulnerability, these blind spots that you and even me at one point have been programmed into. Oh, it's just a white splat mark on a little boy's underwear. That's nothing wrong with that. What's wrong with that? You're the perp. It's just a grown man with a 5 o'clock shadow on the kid's underwear. Y'all, it's not a cartoon character. Blippi is not a cartoon character. Yes, they have made him into one, but the cartoon character is based off of the real man. They got a full beard on little boy's underwear on the butt. They're telling you in these scientific articles that predators will use cartoon characters to groom children, to act like they have something in common, a common interest. And now we're talking about a character that can literally anybody in the world can just dress like this freak. What's to stop some freak from dressing up like Blippi and doing this? What was to stop this freak from saying, let me see your SpongeBob underwear. Let me see your SpongeBob underwear. Ooh, you have SpongeBob. Ooh, you have Easter Bunny underwear. Let me see them. What's to stop them? When you put white splats and a man with a beard on a child's underwear, you are starting to gray the lines. You're starting to blur the lines on this continuum, in my opinion. And like I said at the beginning of the video, I just want to reiterate, that's your kids. That's your choice. I don't want to hear nobody talking about nothing as a reach because I haven't reached for anything. I have said I find it gross that the man acts like he acts and that the man is still on the channel after being exposed for what he had did with the Harlem Shake. I cited qualitative analyses, which were sponsored, funded, and published by the NIH. And I cited actual articles of actual things that have already happened. Okay. There's nothing to reach for. I'm not saying Blippi is a predator. I'm not saying any of the actors who play Blippi are predators. I'm not saying they've ever done anything bad or wrong toward children. Actually, I'm open to the idea, the possibility that both of them are altruistic and great people. I'm open to that idea. I don't fully believe it, but I'm open to it. I could believe it. It's not reaching. I'm not saying that they're doing it on purpose. That's not what I said. You might believe they are. I might believe they are, but I did not say that. And so before you say reach, before you say anything about a reach, rewatch the video and see what I'm actually saying. I'm actually only just showing y'all what the scientific literature, what the professionals are saying about how this type of material can be a gray area and a slippery slope to desensitize and groom children in order to harm them. What you do with that information is up to you. But taking it out on me like something's wrong with me for pointing out the truth is something you just got to take up with yourself because I'm done with my gaslit era. That's all I really had for today. In the meantime, facts ain't defamation. Love you, Mina K. Bye.
Let me tell you something right now because I know you're watching. I will be saying everything you tried to do to me.